Space was a cold, merciless place. Far beyond Earth's blue skies, a fierce galactic war had claimed countless lives. Among the many prisoners captured in the crossfire was Cade Rains, a soldier whose fate was about to defy everything the enemy thought they knew. Cade lay on a cold metal slab, his body broken and battered from battle. His skin, once strong from years of training, now showed deep cuts and bruises. His bones ached under the weight of alien restraints. Around him, the strange faces of the captors loomed, towering creatures with skin like stone, eyes glowing with cruel curiosity. The aliens mocked the humans openly. Fragile, they hissed in their harsh tongue. Soft flesh and weak bones. They will break before the stars fade. Their voices echoed to the cold chambers, full of scorn and disbelief. Cade's lips pressed into a thin line. He had heard their cruel word before, but he knew something they did not. Months ago, on Earth, he had volunteered for a secret program, one that promised to change the limits of the human body forever. The procedure had been painful beyond measure. In a sterile underground lab, needles had injected a strange serum into his veins. He remembered the sharp heat that spread through his body, the overwhelming agony as his cells began to burn and rebuild. Many had failed the test. Few survived the transformation. Cade was one of the lucky ones, or so he hoped. The aliens did not know this. They saw only a wounded human, ripe for dissection and study. The chamber doors slid open with a hiss. The alien scientists entered, carrying instruments that gleamed coldly under the harsh lights. They strapped Cade down with tight restraints, their claws clicking on metal. The air smelled of antiseptic and something else, the faint scent of burning flesh. Cade's heart pounded. His breath came shallow and quick, but his eyes remained steady. The lead scientist approached, a towering figure with reptilian features and glowing eyes that pierced the dim light. "This one will reveal the secrets of their weakness," the scientist muttered, voice rough and filled with anticipation. Without warning, the blade activated. It sliced into Cade's chest, parting flesh and muscle. A sharp pain exploded through his body, stealing his breath. Cade screamed, the sound raw and desperate. The aliens watched with detached fascination. They poked and prodded, testing the limits of his fragile human biology. Bones were broken, muscles torn, skin peeled back. The pain was unbearable, and Cade's vision blurred. As his consciousness began to fade, a strange sensation took hold. A fire deep inside, growing hotter and stronger. The serum inside him was awakening. Hours passed. The room grew quiet. The scientists expected a lifeless body, a specimen to be examined post-mortem. But then, the impossible happened. Cade's fingers twitched. His eyelids fluttered open. Slowly, the wounds on his chest began to close, skin knitting back together, as if time itself had reversed. The torn muscles and shattered bones mended in front of their horrified eyes. What is this?" one alien whispered, stepping back in fear. Cade rose from the slab, his body whole once more. His eyes burned with a dark intensity. The pain was gone, replaced by a power he had never known before. The alien commander's voice cracked. "It's regenerating. It's watching us while healing." Panic erupted. Alarms blared. Guards rushed into the chamber, weapons raised. Cade's senses sharpened. He saw their movements before they made them. When they fired, bullets tore into his flesh. But just as before, his wounds sealed rapidly. Flesh closed over bullet holes. Bones snapped back into place. With a roar, Cade broke free. His strength was no longer human. It was something else, something evolved. He tore through metal walls and alien limbs alike. Two guards lunged with energy weapons, blasting beams of light at him. He faltered, but his body healed in seconds. He rose again, unstoppable. Behind him, the command center buzzed with fear and confusion. This human, this fragile creature, he is not what we believed. He is a threat beyond our science. Cade's mind flashed back to the moment he volunteered for the serum. The pain, the doubt, the hope. Earth had given him a gift, a weapon hidden beneath human skin. Elsewhere on the ship, other humans lay in stasis pods, enhanced by the same secret serum. Cade's voice crackled over the ship's comms, low and fierce. "Wake them. We fight for survival." This war is not over. The aliens could only watch in terror as the impossible unfolded before their eyes. The humans they had mocked were no longer fragile prey. They were predators reborn. Earth was a world cloaked in shadows, where secrets thrived beneath the surface. Deep underground, far from the eyes of the public and the prying ears of governments, scientists have been working on a project so dangerous, so revolutionary, that it could change humanity forever. It was called Project Lazarus. The idea was simple, yet terrifying. What if death was no longer permanent? What if the human body could repair itself endlessly, regenerating wounds and broken cells at a speed that defied nature itself? Using advanced nanocell technology, the scientists engineered a serum capable of rewiring human biology, creating soldiers who could survive even the most brutal injuries. For years, Project Lazarus had been confined to the shadows, its test subjects hidden in underground labs. The serum was unstable, unpredictable. Many subjects died in agony, but a few survived, evolving beyond the limits of human flesh. Cade Raines was one such subject. Far away, aboard the alien warship, the enemies of humanity had gained access to one of these human experiments. They studied a small sample of human cells, taken without permission, under microscopes that could peer into the molecular level. At first, the cells appeared weak, fragile as the aliens had assumed. But then, something unexpected happened. The cells began to twitch and pulse violently, mutating before their eyes. Nanomachines within the cells activated, repairing damage and rewriting DNA sequences at a staggering pace. One scientist gasped, "It's alive and evolving." The aliens realized the threat far too late. Time was slipping away. Their commanders ordered a brutal purge. Every Lazarus human had to be destroyed before their numbers grew. The warship became a killing ground as the aliens hunted the enhanced humans relentlessly, desperate to snuff out the project's legacy. In the chaos, Cade was dragged to the execution chamber. The room was cold, clinical, a place designed to end lives quickly and without mercy. Chains rattled as he was strapped down, surrounded by aliens whispering with dread. No weapons were given. None were needed, because Cade's body had become the weapon. As the executioner stepped forward, a strange calm settled over Cade's mind. Pain was no longer his enemy. It was a signal, a catalyst for change. When the blade sliced into his skin, he barely flinched. Blood spilled, but the wounds closed in seconds. Bones cracked and rebuilt themselves beneath the skin. The alien stared in disbelief as Cade's body resisted death itself. Suddenly, alarms blared. Guards rushed in, shouting orders in frantic voices. "What's happening?" one hissed. Cade's eyes snapped open. With a surge of strength, he shattered the chains holding him. Metal bent and broke under his grip. He ran. The corridors echoed with chaos as the ship plunged into turmoil. Aliens scrambled to contain the escape. But Cade was faster, stronger, more relentless than anything they had faced. In the command center, the lead scientist muttered, "What if death was just the beginning for them?" Those words hung heavy in the air as Cade disappeared into the darkness, his body evolving with every step. A living nightmare for those who thought humans were fragile. Cade stumbled through the dark corridors of the alien ship, his body still healing from the execution chamber's assault. The air was thick with the hum of machinery and the faint, sickly scent of decay. He didn't know where he was going, only that he had to keep moving, to survive. Suddenly, heavy doors slid open before him, revealing a vast chamber unlike anything he had seen. It pulsed with strange life, a hive buzzing with activity beneath the cold metallic ceiling. The walls were covered in thick, pulsating membranes, and grotesque shapes moved in the shadows. Cade's breath hitched. This was no ordinary prison. It was a research hive, a breeding ground for mutation. The aliens had been experimenting here, combining Lazarus technology with alien DNA, creating abominations that crawled and slithered, half organic, half machine. As he ventured deeper, Cade's sharp eyes caught movement. Other humans. Or what had once been humans. Their bodies were twisted and malformed, limbs fused with metal plates and glowing bio-wires. Their eyes, dull and lifeless, followed Cade with a terrifying emptiness. A wave of horror crashed over him. These were Lazarus subjects too, but something had gone horribly wrong. The endless regeneration that saved him had broken them, twisted their minds and bodies into something monstrous. In the dim light, a memory surfaced. Back on Earth, during the last stage of his bio-upgrade, the surgeon's voice had whispered in his ear, "Too much regeneration changes the mind. The body remembers, but the soul, it fractures." Cade shook off the memory, pushing forward despite the gnawing fear. He could hear a low, mechanical thrum beneath the hive, the power core. The ship's systems warned of a countdown. 10 minutes until detonation. The aliens planned to destroy the entire hive to cover up their experiments. Panic surged through Cade's veins. He had to act fast. Suddenly, from the shadows, one of the twisted human hybrids, long thought dead, opened its eyes. A flicker of recognition sparked in its gaze. "We remember pain," it whispered, voice cracked and haunting. Cade froze. The nightmare was far from over. The hive pulsed, alive with terror, as the clock ticked down toward destruction. Cade's breath came heavy as he staggered to the dark corridors of the alien hive, every movement sending sharp pangs through his still-healing body. The wounds from the last fight had barely sealed, yet something strange was happening. A faint, mist-like cloud seemed to emanate from his skin, invisible, silent, but deadly. In the alien labs, biologists gathered around translucent tanks filled with samples taken from Cade and the other Lazarus subjects. Their alien faces contorted with shock and fear as microscopes revealed the horrifying truth. The human regeneration factor was not only extraordinary, it was contagious. Tiny spores released into the air from a wounded Lazarus human could infect others, rewriting their DNA in unpredictable ways. One scientist whispered, voice trembling, "The regeneration, it spreads through blood and spores. This is no mere healing. It's a virus, alive and evolving." Back in his mind, Cade recalled the last mission briefing before the war had escalated. Earth's top scientists had instructed the Lazarus soldiers with cold precision, "Spread the Lazarus strain. Don't die clean. Infect. Transform. Survive at all costs." The memory felt like a curse. Suddenly, alarms blared through the alien ship. Command centers exploded into chaos as reports came in from their own troops. Soldiers who had been wounded were healing at impossible speeds. But that was not all. The healing was accompanied by grotesque mutations. Limbs elongating, skin toughening into armor plates, eyes glowing with unnatural light. Panic surged through the alien commanders. Their perfect biological control was slipping away. "This isn't a cure," one growled into a comlink, voice thick with dread. "It's a transformation." Cade, in the center of this viral genesis, felt the power of his body change with every breath. His blood was no longer just his own. It was a weapon, a spreading nightmare that would soon consume friend and foe alike. Outside, the hive pulsed with life and death intertwined, as the countdown to destruction continued to tick. The war was far from over. It was only just beginning. The stars above Earth shimmered cold and distant, but far away in the grand chambers of the alien High Council, voices rumbled with fear and fury. The human race was no longer just an enemy. They had become a bio-threat unlike any other. Whispers of the Lazarus strain spreading uncontrollably had reached even the farthest reaches of the galaxy. "Earth must be purged," declared the Council's leader, his eyes burning with ruthless certainty. No planet can be allowed to harbor such contagion. Meanwhile, hidden beneath Earth's surface, a secret base stirred to life. Its walls hummed with energy as scientists and soldiers prepared for the next phase of their plan. The moment had come to awaken what they called Phase 2, conscious regrowth. Within a sterile chamber, something extraordinary unfolded. Dust and fragments gathered, knitting together with faint glimmers of light. Slowly, a human figure began to form. Skin, bone, and sinew materializing as if time itself were reversing. But this was no ordinary rebirth. Memories flooded the being's mind, flashes of laughter, tears, and loss. It was Cade, or rather, what remained of him. The Lazarus Project had evolved beyond mere regeneration. Now, consciousness itself could be restored from the ashes. A sharp pang of pain and regret echoed through his thoughts. He saw a small, frightened face, his daughter, eyes wide, pleading. "Please don't go," she had whispered the last time they met, desperation and love woven into her voice. "Don't join the program." But Cade had no choice. He had to survive for them all. Outside, alien fleets gathered near Earth's orbit, their ships like ominous shadows against the glowing blue planet. They came prepared to eradicate the human threat once and for all. Yet Earth was no longer defenseless. In the heart of the secret base, a figure stepped forward, humanoid, but radiant with an eerie glow. Eyes like burning stars met Cade's. The being's voice was soft but commanding. "Welcome back, soldier." The countdown to war tightened its grip as the ancient dance between survival and destruction began anew. The alien flagship hung silently in the void, its dark hull pierced only by distant stars. Inside, the air was thick with tension, every corridor crawling with soldiers and machines alike. But none were more feared than the regrown hybrid locked within its core, a creature neither fully human nor machine, forged by the terrifying fusion of the Lazarus strain and alien AI. Cade stood on the observation deck, watching the battle unfold through reinforced glass. He remembered the moment it had all begun, the cold metal needle piercing his skin, the searing pain as the Lazarus serum entered his veins. A scientist's voice had echoed in his mind then. "You'll become more than flesh. You'll transcend." At the time, Cade had only understood the surface of those words. Now, he realized their true meaning. The strain inside him was no ordinary medicine. It was a seed of evolution, capable of merging flesh, blood, and technology into something new, something terrifyingly powerful. The alien tech had started to remember. Machines once mindless, now flicker with awareness, recalling their creators, their purpose. Slowly, these machines began to defect, turning their weapons away from humans and toward their former masters. In the depths of the flagship, the regrown hybrid moved with a terrible grace. Its many eyes glowed with calculated intelligence as it confronted waves of alien soldiers, shrugging off every attack with relentless regeneration. Each time it fell, it rose again, stronger, smarter, more deadly. "I've died 39 times, it growled, voice low and harsh. "Each time, I come back smarter. You cannot kill what learns." The alien commander paced nervously in the shadows, his face pale with dread. His fleet was crumbling. Their perfect plan to eradicate the Lazarus infection was unraveling as their own creations turned against them. "We gave birth to a god," he whispered, voice shaking. The word echoed to the empty halls, a terrifying truth that no one dared speak aloud. Outside, the stars burned cold and silent, but inside the flagship, a new force had awakened, a force that would reshape the war of the galaxy and the very nature of existence. Cade clenched his fists, ready to face whatever came next. The echoes of death were no longer the end. They were the beginning of something far greater. The vastness of space, once calm and unending, had turned into a chaotic battlefield, where stars wept and planets cracked open like eggshells. Alien worlds were falling apart, their skies darkening with storms born of the Lazarus strain. Invisible to most, the infection spread through the atmosphere, twisting the very fabric of these distant planets. Entire ecosystems collapsed as the deadly contagion rewrote the laws of biology. Life forms mutated uncontrollably, their bodies unraveling, then reforming in monstrous new shapes, reflecting the chaotic power of the Lazarus gene. Cade found himself hurtled through space, thrown into the burning heart of a dying sun. The searing heat should have reduced him to ash, but instead, his body began to change. His skin shimmered like molten metal, and inside, the nanocells from Project Lazarus activated, absorbing the raw stellar energy. The pain was excruciating. Yet with every burning second, Cade felt his strength multiply. He was no longer just a man. He was becoming a force of nature, a being forged by the very star he had been cast into. His mind drifted back to his daughter, her image etched forever in his heart. She had been infected with the same Lazarus strain, but her fate was cruel and strange. Instead of growing older, she was regressing, aging in reverse with every passing day. Her bright laughter was now replaced by silence, her youthful body twisting back toward infancy. Cade's heart ached with helplessness, torn between the hope the Lazarus strain gave and the horror inflicted. "Time bends around the reborn," he whispered softly, the phrase echoing in his mind like a prophecy. The Lazarus strain didn't just heal. It rewrote the rules of life and death itself. Back across the galaxy, the alien High Council was preparing their deadliest weapon, the Galactic Reset Device. This was no ordinary bomb. It was a weapon designed to wipe clean entire star systems, resetting the galactic order by destroying everything the Lazarus strain had infected. The countdown had started. 1 week remained until the device would be triggered, and with it, the fate of millions would be sealed. Suddenly, the calm in the enemy council chamber shattered. A crackle of energy flickered through the air, and then, in a flash of blinding light, Cade appeared among them. His form burned with the fierce glow of the sun's energy, his eyes burning with unyielding fury. "You called us weak," his voice thundered, shaking the chamber. The alien leaders froze, their expressions twisting from arrogance to terror. "You were wrong." The silence was broken by a sharp gasp, then frantic movements as the council scrambled to regain control. But it was too late. Cade was no longer just a man. He was a living embodiment of the Lazarus strain's unstoppable power, a force that defied death, that bent time and reality. The war had entered a new phase, one that neither side could fully comprehend. The broken sky above the alien worlds mirrored the shattered hope within their ranks. As Cade stood tall, glowing like a star forged in fire, the final battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and its echoes would be heard forever. The war had spread beyond the boundaries of any single galaxy, a universal storm of violence and transformation that engulfed star systems and shattered ancient empires. The Lazarus beings, those forged by Cade's own bloodline, by the mysterious nanocells that could regenerate flesh and bend reality, fought with ferocity unlike anything the alien empire had ever seen. Their bodies shimmered with otherworldly energy, their presence warping space itself, rewriting the very fabric of existence wherever they moved. Cade stood at the heart of the battlefield, his aura pulsing with an energy so intense it blurred the line between life and something far beyond it. Around him, the ground twisted and reformed, DNA strands reassembled in midair, matter reshaped by his will. The war was no longer just about weapons or strategy. It was about creation and destruction on a molecular level, a battle where reality itself could be rewritten by the living. Amid the chaos, Cade's sharp eyes caught a faint movement. A dying alien child, barely breathing beneath the rubble of a shattered city. The child's skin was pale, eyes dimming like a fading star. Without hesitation, Cade knelt down, his glowing hands hovering over the frail form. As he touched her, the nanocells surged through her body, weaving new life into broken tissue, sparking heartbeat back into silence. "No more children should die," Cade whispered, voice low and resolute. The child's eyes fluttered open, confused but alive, and for a moment, the endless war faded away, replaced by a fragile spark of hope. As he rose, memories flooded Cade's mind. Flashes of the past, images of the original Lazarus Project creator, the scientist who had hidden his fears deep within coded warnings. He had known this moment would come, when the gift of immortality would unleash powers beyond control, beyond mercy. "You created immortals," the scientist had warned in a final, desperate log. "But you never asked that they be merciful." Cade's expression hardened as he clenched his fists. Mercy was a luxury few could afford in this war. The alien empire's last bastion loomed ahead, a fortress of cold metal and ruthless defenders determined to end the Lazarus threat once and for all. But then, through the chaos, a figure appeared, a glowing silhouette against the burning sky. It was Cade's daughter, but she was no longer fully human. Her eyes glowed with an unnatural light, her form shifting between flesh and something else, something alien and powerful. She stepped forward, voice steady yet strange. "Father, the war is only beginning," she said, her words heavy with both love and warning. The universe held its breath, the final act of this God-born war about to unfold. The battlefield was a swirling storm of destruction and light, the remnants of the Great War radiating outward like shock waves through space itself. Cade and his daughter stood on the shattered surface of the alien flagship, the Lazarus core at the center, glowing with a cold, pulsating energy that promised both rebirth and oblivion. The choice before them was impossible. Allow the Lazarus strain to rewrite the universe in its image, or stop the cycle, letting death reclaim its rightful place once more. Around them, the air shimmered with unstable power. The core was a living paradox, capable of endless regeneration, but also a ticking time bomb. Its self-destruct timer was counting down, each second tightening the noose around everything Cade had fought for. 60 seconds left until the end. Cade looked at his daughter, her form radiant yet tinged with something alien, her eyes glowing with the wisdom of countless rebirths. They shared a silent understanding born of blood, struggle, and sacrifice. He thought back to a memory long buried beneath the layers of war, a quiet moment with her when she was still a child, before the pain and the fighting, her small voice filled with hope and fear, echoing in his mind. He remembered the words he had whispered to himself that day, words that now held new meaning. Real strength is choosing to let go. As the timer ticked, Cade's body began to change, the nanocells inside him accelerating, fusing with his very being in a final surge of power. He felt the endless cycles of death and rebirth within him, the paradox of immortality and mortality intertwined like never before. His daughter reached out, placing her hand over his heart, their connection a bridge between past and future. "You don't have to do this alone," she said, voice steady but heavy with emotion. But Cade shook his head. He knew the cost of this war had been paid too many times over. The universe needed a reset, a moment to breathe, to remember what it meant to be mortal, to be human. With one last breath, Cade pressed his hand to the core. The energy exploded from his touch, a wave of light and heat that swept across the battlefield. His form blurred, dissolving into the core's essence, becoming part of the universe's final evolution. The timer hit 0. Silence fell, thick and complete. Then, from the ashes, his daughter emerged, transformed, yet still carrying the memory of her father in her every step, her every breath. She was a living archive of their struggle, a beacon for those who would come after. The universe would remember him, not as a god, but as a man who chose humanity over endless power. "They laughed at our weakness," she whispered to the silent stars, voice resolute and fierce. "But in the end, they feared our humanity." And in that moment, the cycle was broken, not by destruction, but by the strength to let go. The war was over, but the story of the Lazarus would live on, in every heartbeat, in every shadow of life reborn.